Alrighty, welcome to this video. In this tutorial we are going to talk about jQuery, what it is, how to use it, and then how to take things from offline and use them in your projects. So let's go to their website first. I'm at jQuery. I'm going to go to Google here and just Google jQuery. There's their site, jQuery.com. This is what it looks like. jQuery is a JavaScript library. In other words, everything you do in jQuery, it's JavaScript, but what they've done is they've created this this file here that's 32 kilobytes, and what it has is a bunch of commands and functions and stuff in it, to where, you know, I think the best way to explain it is back in the day, if you wanted to animate something with JavaScript, it would have took a ton of lines of code to do, and you would have had to have been a very savvy programmer to be able to do that. But with jQuery, they've done all that heavy lifting for you, thrown it in this little file, and then all you have to do is write a little, like 1 or 2 lines of code, and now you can animate something, where before it would have took a ton of lines of code and it would have took a lot of work. So they've taken a lot of amazing things, simplified them, put them in a library, is what it's called, a JavaScript library. So you can call, say, what we're going to do today is we can call the animate function. It'll animate something where all of the heavy lifting and all the hard coding has already been inserted into the library for us. So it's just a way to do what it says here: write less and do more. So it's I just want to read their definition real quick. So it's a fast, small, and feature-rich JavaScript library. The one thing that I really like about jQuery is right here. It's cross-browser. So when you use it, it almost works in any browser you would ever want to use it for, which is sweet. Okay. So to get started, I'm just going to create a folder here on my desktop. I'm going to call it just jQuery. We're going to do a simple little jQuery thing here. We're going to do a little animation just to kind of show you how to use it. So I made my folder jQuery there. I'll come back here and I'm going to create a new HTML file. So there's jQuery. I'll just call it jQuery.html. Okay, and then we just got to set up the HTML file like we normally would. Okay, we'll throw in the HTML tag, head tag. Okay, we'll throw in the body. Title, we'll call it jQuery Animate. Throw in the meta tag and the char set. Okay. So the first thing you got to do if you want to use jQuery is you have to embed the library. Now we could come here and download it if we wanted to, but I think one of the quicker ways to do it is I'm just going to Google hosted libraries. Google rules the world, right? They kind of own the internet. So I'm going to go to this page here, the hosted libraries. Now Google hosts all of these different JavaScript libraries and lets us use them. So they host AngularJS, they host Angular Material. Some of these I don't know what the heck they are. They Dojo, all this, but we're looking for jQuery, so there it is. So I can grab the 3.0 snippet, the 2.0 snippet, or the 1. I'm going to grab the 3. I've found that jQuery is very good with backwards compatibility. Like if you wrote something in jQuery 2 point whatever, chances of it working in 3 point whatever is pretty high. Now the other way though, like if I wrote something in 3.0 and then I wanted to use the 1.0 library, that probably wouldn't work very well. But I'm going to grab this. So this is what you want to use to embed the library. It's a script tag, and it's setting the source equal to the jQuery library, which is this jQuery min.js file. The reason why I like to do this is because, first of all, it's Google. The chances of their servers going down is very small. Also, their servers are going to be a lot faster than the server I would use. I'm gonna be on some shared hosting service, paying $5 a month or something, you know, where Google has, you know, enterprise level servers that are a lot faster than what I'm going to have. So I'm going to use this. And you'll see the other way to do it here when we hop into the other example. So I'm going to throw it in there. So this is just setting up a JavaScript tag here, a script tag, and it's setting the source of that tag to be equal to this JavaScript file. Now let's grab this to take a look at what it looks like. So this is jQuery. Now obviously they didn't write it like this. You know, they wrote it more like this with an indentation and line breaks and such, but to make it as small as they could, they minimized it. In other words, they squished all the code together. They got rid of all the white space. They got rid of all the indentation. They got rid of everything, so it just looks like this block of bleh, right? So this is embedding this library inside of my page, so then I can call these functions and commands and all this stuff that jQuery recognizes, and so it'll work. Okay, so that's what the library looks like. So I got it from Google. We're good to go. I don't really. Oh, by the way, I guess here is a good thing is if you go to the API documentation, this will show you basically all the stuff that jQuery does, and there's a ton of stuff. And the one we're going to talk about today is Animate, which is sweet because we can animate things on the page using jQuery. But there's a lot more than just that. I'm only in the C's. This is alphabetical. This is in alphabetical order here. I'm about half the way down. Tons of stuff jQuery can do. And we'll talk about this in a minute here. So now that I've embedded the library, I'm going to create something that I want to animate. This can be, you know, anything you want. I'll do a div here. Okay, and I'll say something like, you know, animate me. Okay, I'll save that, and then we're going to open it up here in the browser. Pretty amazing, right? So we can say, I'm also going to give, let's create a script down here. Now, if I want to do stuff, if I want to animate something in jQuery, usually what I need to do is I got to label what I want to animate. And in this case, I'm going to label the div because that's what I want to animate. So I'm going to say ID equals, and I'll call it hi. It really doesn't matter what you call it, but it needs to be something that's unique. So this ID is going to be called by the jQuery and then animated. So I'm going to create here another script tag. Sorry, brackets, the indentation can get kind of annoying sometimes. So, all right, so I've embedded the library, and now I'm going to write the actual jQuery script here. So the first thing I'm going to do is you do this thing called the document ready function, and what that does is it basically says, hey, when this document's been loaded, run this script. So it's a $sign with parentheses in document, okay, dot ready, and then we're going to run a function. And the function is what happens when you call it. So all functions are, what functions do is that it's just a block of code that's ran when you tell it to. jQuery is an event-based language, and so is JavaScript, which jQuery is written from. And JavaScript and jQuery, they just sit around and they wait for something to happen, and then when something happens, then they do something where you do whatever you tell it to. So I'm going to stick, this needs to be in quotes. So I'm going to tell it to animate, or I'm going to tell it to select an element on the page that has the ID. That's what this $sign means. $sign means ID. So I'm saying look for the page for an ID of hi, and now I'm going to tell it to do something. And what I'm going to tell it to do, I got to tell it, what do they call the event. So I got to tell it what event we're going to listen for. So in this case, I'm going to do a focus in, which means when I select an element. There's other things you can do here. Actually, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do a mouse enter. What that means is it's basically rollover. So when I roll over something, it's going to do what I tell it to. So the mouse enter, it's going to do another function. Okay, and we got to set up this function here. So when the mouse enters this div with the ID of hi, I'm going to do whatever I say here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this ID again, and I'm going to tell it to animate. Now this is where a good knowledge or a strong knowledge of CSS is going to help, because this is what I'm going to animate, is I'm going to animate the CSS. So I could say, I don't know, there's plenty of things I could do, but I could do width. We want to animate it to 200 pixels. So I'm using the animate function or method, and I spelled width wrong. And I'm going to say when I mouse over this, I'm going to animate the width to 200 pixels. Now to be able to see that, I'm going to also do something here. I'm going to give this a class, and we'll call it, I don't know, high as well. That should work. And I'm doing a class so I can apply CSS to it as well as JavaScript. So I'll do some internal styling here. So I'm going to mess with the class of high. I'm going to give it a width of 150. I'll give it a border solid, 1 pixel. Height, we'll give it 50 pixels. So let's take a look at what that did. So it's already working. So we can see here that I started it right with 150 pixels. I gave it a border of 1 pixel solid, and the height's 50. So we got 50 pixels tall. Well, not now, but it's 150 pixels wide there. And then I gave it the border. I'm just giving it the border so we can actually see it animate. And then you can see when I mouse over, it animated out, right? And that's because of the jQuery. So on mouse enter, take the element with the ID of high, which is this div down here, and animate the width to 200 pixels. And that's what I did. Now you can see that you can apply a class and an ID to this, and they can be the same and it doesn't matter. IDs though, there can only be one ID on the page that's called high. If you do more than that, the JavaScript will start messing up. So if I were to take the div here and create another one called high, that could end up giving you a bunch of errors and such. So always have only one ID on the page. Now another thing we need to talk about is the way this is loaded on the page. So you can see that the script tag here is above the jQuery. And that's exactly how it should always be. Because let me show you. So if I were to take this code that I wrote here and I take this script and I cut it and I put it down here, let's see if it works. So I'm going to come over here, refresh the page, I mouse over, it's not working anymore. Because what happens is it runs through this code and it says, okay, I'm going to try to, animate high when the mouse goes inside of it. Well, I can't do any of that because I don't know what mouse enter means. I don't know what animate means. It doesn't know what document ready means because this hasn't been loaded yet. So when I take this and I load it up here, now all these functions and methods like ready and mouse enter and animate, they've all been loaded. They've been loaded here with this script tag and everything's good to go. So they're loaded, they're ready, and then when I call them in the script tag here, they know exactly what this stuff is and the browser is able to do what I tell it to do. Okay? So we come back, okay, it's working now, but when I mouse out it doesn't do anything. So that's kind of a weird rollover effect, right? We mouse over it, it animates, we mouse out, we want it to go back, but it hasn't, and it won't. So we have to tell it how to do that. So we got to do another function. So we're going to say We're going to take the element with the ID of high, and we're going to say mouse leave. We're going to do a function. Okay, add that semicolon there to finish it out. So when the mouse leaves, we're going to do basically what we did before, but we're just going to switch it up a little bit. So we're going to mess with the ID with the element with the ID of high, and we're going to animate it, but we're just going to animate it back. So width we're just going to animate it back to 150 pixels. We need that in quotes. So when the mouse enters, we animate the width to 200. Well, it was 150 to begin with, so it gets a little bit wider. And then when the mouse leaves, we're going to animate that, and we're going to make the width 150. So we're going to put it back to what it was before. So that'll give us more of that kind of rollover effect. So refresh here. Uh-oh. Now something isn't working. So that's okay. That happens all the time, right? So now we just need to figure out what exactly is going on. Now luckily we can do that by debugging. I can hit F12, and this may not help us that much, which it's not. So that's a bummer. Sometimes sometimes we'll get errors, but it looks like we're not. So something is happening here that we need to take a look at. So let's see here. So we got the document. So let's just kind of go through how we would debug. The first thing we want to take a look at is, are we closing and opening everything? And I already found the issue. So we have this document ready function, right? And this is what happens. This is going to load when the page loads. Well, the document ready function, this is one good thing of brackets, is I can click on these brackets, brackets and brackets, and we can see where the pairs are. So I click on this one, it shows me where the ending one is. Well, I click on the document ready function, it closes right there. So this is outside of it. So it won't be included. So I just need to take this, cut it, and put it inside of the document ready function. Let's get everything kind of tabbed over a little bit. All right, just so we can kind of make this make a little more sense. So now when I click here, okay, everything's included in the document ready function, which is good. Okay, then I can click here. Okay, that closes there, which is good. I can click that function. That closes there, which is good. So hopefully this will work now. So let's take a look. All right, there we go. Okay. So that's just a really simple thing, but you should be able to animate basically any of these things that you want. So if you want to learn more about it, you can, like I showed you at the beginning, you can just go to jQuery.com. Come here, go to the API documentation. I'll do Control F here, and I'll look for the Animate function. You can click on it, and you start scrolling down, and it will give you examples. So you can see that you can animate multiple things as well. So they're animating the opacity, they're animating the height and the left value. They're doing a bunch of different things. So, and there's different ways you can toggle this stuff so it goes in and out. I mean, there's a bunch of different things that you can do. So I may be able to come over here. We could give this an opacity. Now that would be the whole thing. Let's try another one. So we could maybe say margin left. This may or may not work. We'll see. I'm not sure if it's going to be margin dash left or if it's going to be just margin left, or maybe be something different. I'm not sure. Looks like that's how you do it. Thank you, brackets. Okay, so margin left, And then when we mouse out, we want the margin left to go back to nothing. So let's see if that does anything different. Yep. So this is a way you can have it kind of shift over to the right a little bit. So you can animate a bunch of different things if you want. It's good stuff. I could animate the height. If I wanted that to shrink down, I could animate background colors, all kinds of stuff. And you can see here in brackets, which is really nice, is you start typing and it's going to give you all the different things you can mess with, which is really nice. Anyways, good stuff. So that's how you start with jQuery. Make sure that you embed the library before you do anything, and then you can start writing the code here, telling it to do what you want it to do. There are also, let's see, pretty sure W3 Schools has a really good jQuery thing here. Yeah. So there's jQuery tutorials here, and it shows you all the different things that jQuery can do, which is really slick. So if you want to learn this, W3 Schools is a great resource there. So this video has actually been a little long, so I think what I'm going to do is we'll create another one showing you how to take some jQuery stuff online and pull it offline and be able to throw it into your own projects. So we'll stop this video from now, and then right next to this video should be the next one with how to take things off. It should be embedded right next to it. So thanks for watching, guys. Any questions, let me know. See ya.